This is the second problem from Objective 4, Part B. Recall in Part A we graphed the two lines to find the intersection. In Part B we're going to solve using algebra. Okay, I've cleaned up the screen a little bit. Remember, TAKS people are tricky. They've put the y term first and the x term second on this first equation, and we rewrote it here. Now, to solve with substitution, our goal is to get one of the x's by itself or one of the y's in either equation. Doesn't matter which equation we use. Now, looking at the first one, negative 2x plus 5y equals 6. To get x by itself here, I would divide by negative 2. Now when I do that, these would cancel and I'd have x by itself. But on the y term, I'd end up with a fraction, negative 5/2. And we really don't like fractions. So I would not use that for this one. So let's instead divide by 5 and get the y by itself. Now notice what happens when we do that. My y would be by itself, but now I have fractions for the x and for this constant over here. Again, I like to avoid fractions if I can, so this is not a good idea. Let me get rid of this. Okay, so let's look at the second equation. Well, I'll just do it right there. I could divide by 3, but what happens? I get a fraction here and a fraction here. So that's not a good idea. And I could divide by negative 2. Again, that goes away, but I get fractions. So substitution is not the method I would use here. The other method is solving simultaneously, and that involves multiplying each equation so that one of the terms cancels out. So either the x's cancel themselves out or the y's. Looking at this, if I multiply this first equation by 3, I'll get negative 6x here. And if I multiply the second equation by 2, I'll get positive 6x. Well, negative 6x and positive 6x will cancel each other out. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm drawing a squiggly line just so I know I didn't add here, and I'm going to distribute. So 3 times negative 2x is negative 6x. 3 times positive 5y is positive 15y. And 3 times 6 is 18. Don't forget to multiply, multiply, multiply everything. Don't forget this guy over here. Here we get 6x, negative 4y, and 26. Now let's add these together. Those cancel. 15y minus 4y is 11y. 18 and 26, there's 30, 44. And we would divide by 11. And we now know what y is. Y is 4. So notice only one answer has 4 in it, and we already do know the answer from the previous video. But let's go ahead and see what we would do next if we didn't. What I would do is, in one of the original equations, replace y with 4 and solve for x. So I'm just going to use the first one, but it doesn't matter which one you use. 5 times 4 minus 2x equals 6. Okay, I'm just using this equation right here. I replaced y with 4. 5 times 4 is 20. Minus 2x is 6. So we're going to subtract 20 from both sides. We get negative 2x equals 6 minus 20 is going to be negative 14. Divided by negative 2 to get that x alone. And x equals, the negatives cancel, we get 7 right there. And we don't stop there. We always check in both equations. So if x is 7 and y is 4, 5 times 4, this will be 20. Negative 2 times 7, that would be 14. Negative 14. And that works. In the second equation, with x being 7, 3 times 7 is 21. And negative 2 times 4 will be negative 8. And 21 minus 8 is 13. So it does work in both equations. So that's not too bad. It does take some algebra, and there is room for some error. But if you always check your answer, you'll be fine. Next, we will look at matrices on the calculator.